Today we'll be talking and practicing what's called sighting. And what sighting is basically using your drawing utensil to help measure, to help figure out where points are in space to put down in an exact right spot on your paper, as well as finding angles that are there physically, like the angle of an arm or angles between 2 points in space, for instance, the head and the shoulder, that angle that goes like this. So if you can use your drawing utensil to find those angles, you can bring it over here to your paper and put that angle down, and that will help you see more accurately and what's happening in front of you be put down on the paper more accurately. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of what that is. So basically, you should have learned in 2D design and or drawing 1, which I'm pretty sure you guys have already taken, about the picture plane and how this is your picture plane, that invisible pane of glass that sits between you and your subject. And what the picture plane does is it essentially flattens out whatever is 3-dimensional into your 2-dimensional space for when you draw. So if you consider whatever angle your drawing board or your paper is at, that angle is important to note, because when you're using sighting, your drawing utensil has to be at that exact same angle. So, for instance, mine's pretty upright, although it is at a slight angle inward. If you were drawing with it on your lap, for instance, your picture plane angle would be like that. And why that's important is you want to transfer what's 3-dimensional onto your 2-dimensional picture plane. So if I'm using sighting and my angle of my picture plane is like this, then I want to start with my drawing utensil at that same angle, make sure it's flush against your picture plane, and then you have to move your drawing utensil out into space between you and your subject. Close one eye, whichever one is the one you feel more comfortable with, because again, closing that eye scrunches down the 3 dimensions into 2 dimensions. And then you're going to use your drawing tool still at that same angle as your drawing pad. Close that eye, and then you're going to twist like the hands of a clock, left or right, and find the angles that you're looking for. So for me, I think it's a good idea for you guys to practice this standing up, but I couldn't get everything into my camera lens by standing up. It'd be too far back and you guys wouldn't be able to see anything. So I'm sitting, but the reason I think it's important to stand up is because you get full range of motion through the ball and socket joint of your shoulder, rather than just drawing like this like you typically would at a desk. The other thing is standing makes your drawing pad or paper or your picture plane be pretty much upright, which matches the angle of what is in front of you. You know, the subject's going to be standing on a flat ground. She's not going to be at some weird angle, or he. So basically, it's a lot easier to transfer, it's a lot easier for you to transfer this angle of your picture plane out onto here and then twist, rather than being down here and having to do that. And you'll start to notice that too. So I think it's a good idea for you guys to start standing, or at least having your drawing pad standing upright. So I've already sketched out this figure over here about the proportions I think it is and where things go. Just a quick sketch. It took me about 10 seconds or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my drawing utensil flush against my picture plane, against my drawing pad. I'm going to close one eye, and I'm going to come out to the air with the same angle of my pencil as I have it against the pad, and I'm going to twist to find certain angles. So for me right now, I am not sure that maybe this shoulder is in the right spot compared to where the top of the head is. So like I was saying before, a good way to kind of figure out the figure and figure where shoulders are and how wide they are or how not wide they are is to start at the very tip top of the head and make angles like a triangle. So basically it would be a point here, and a point here. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm sighting an imaginary angle, you know, because there's no real line there, from the top of that head to the corner of that shoulder. So start here, come out, close one eye, find that angle. Okay, so that angle pretty much came down like this. So I know that the shoulder needs to come in more. And what I'm going to do next is called triangulation. So I've sighted that angle. I'm going to sight this other angle, because remember, you want that triangle of the shoulders. So since you can't see her shoulder because her hair is in the way, I'm going to pick a significant point in that drawing, which would be, in reality, a person for you. So where her hair curves in is about where her shoulder kind of goes. So I'm going to sight that angle from here to that point. It comes down about here. So now the issue is, yes, I know that the shoulder is on this angle and this shoulder is on this angle somewhere, but I don't know how far down this line it goes. Like, for all I know, this is where the shoulder is, right? So what I'm going to do next is a form of sighting called triangulation. And basically what that is using different points in space to find the exact point of where something is. So for me, I want to know exactly where this shoulder lies along this line, along that angle. So what I'm going to do is use another point in space that I know is correct. So for instance, let's just say that I know that this part right here is here because I've drawn all of this other stuff and I've figured it out, and I figured out that that is where that shoulder is. Right there. So I've got this angle, I've got this angle, and I know that this is the point. This is just saying, I don't really, but let's just say that I've done everything else so that I do know that that's there. So I'm going to use this angle and that angle to find where that shoulder lies along this line. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to sight this point to this point in reality. So twist, come over, line that up right here. So that is where that shoulder goes. Okay, so you could draw every drawing you ever create from here on out and triangulate and sight every tiny little point and be very mathematical about it. Or you can not waste your time by doing that and just use sighting and triangulation as a way to check yourself and make sure that you're going about the right way, that your drawing is going about the right way. Or to, if you can't find an exact spot, like maybe, hands are really hard to draw, so maybe you can't find the fingertip, like something about the length of that finger isn't looking right and you don't know what's wrong. So you can use sighting and triangulation to find where that finger is. Or for instance, in this drawing over here, maybe I don't know exactly where this bent knee goes. But I do have these 3 points in space that I've already sighted and know are true, so I can use any number of those to find where this knee goes. So we're going to do that real quick. So since I know that this is right, and since I know that that is right, and we're pretending that this is right, I'm going to use these 2 to find where that knee is. So I'm going to sight first from here to just the edge of where that knee bends. Come out here. Notice that I'm not twisting, notice that I'm not making my pencil go in and out because it needs to stay the same as what my drawing board is, but I am twisting side to side like a clock. So, see the angle that makes? It came down to about here. Now I'm going to use this point to get to that point because we know that this angle is correct, so the knee must be along this angle somewhere, but could it be down here or is it way up here? So we're going to use this point in space since we know that that's correct to find the exact X marks the spot, basically. Okay, look at that. I was pretty close, right? So now I know that that's the outer edge of where that knee bends, and that can help me draw the rest of the drawing. So again, triangulation and sighting is a really good tool to have for you to use, and it is not something that you should use for every tiny spot in your drawing, and you should not agonize over that. You'll notice that I sketched out my whole figure first to kind of get everything where I think it goes. And then you can go back and make things more detailed and more specific by using these tools, okay? So I hope this helps, and obviously you're going to be working on that today in class. Since I looked back at the video that I shot for you guys and noticed that you couldn't see anything, I'm just going to go over that one more time. So watch the beginning of this video and see what I'm doing with my hand. And remember that if this is my drawing pad, my drawing utensil is flat against that, I come out to whichever side, my subject is on, and I make sure that the drawing utensil stays the same angle as my drawing pad, and I can only twist left and right. Because you have to imagine that there is an imaginary pane of glass over here between you and your subject, that means that you can't make your drawing utensil go in or out. That's the important thing. So if you're sighting and you come out here to the side and you start going in and out, you're ruining your angle, because you have to start out with it staying like this and only twisting left or right. So when you get out into the air, you only twist left or right, line your pencil up with whatever angle you're trying to find, come back to your drawing pad and lay that line down. Okay, so what I was essentially doing is I started with my sketch. I started with the very middle tip top of the head, and then I sighted an angle with my drawing utensil from here to here. You can maybe see my original sketch of that, so I was off by a little bit. So what you do is you line your pencil up out there in the air with the angle between this point and that point and lay that angle down, just like that, right? Make sure it's straight. So, because I know that that shoulder, the outside top edge of that shoulder is along this angle somewhere, I don't know if it's up here, I don't know if it's down here, so I need to figure out where on this line angle that the shoulder actually is. So what I can do is, if I've already sighted this one from here to here, and I know somehow, and I know that this is where it belongs, then I can use this angle to find that one exactly. So let's say that we sight this angle, we still don't know where the shoulder is, we sight this angle and then use some other part to find it. You can use this angle to sight that imaginary angle, and wherever this crosses, that's where that spot is. So you sight this like that, and then you use this guy, you come out and you sight, you twist in space, and you find that angle, you lay that angle down just like that, and then wherever these two lines cross, that's where your shoulder is going to be. And so that's what I did down here, and that's called triangulation. So sighting is the overall term. Triangulation is the specific term for finding specific points in space. So if I know this is correct, and I now know this is correct, then I can use these 2 points to find that spot on the knee, where the knee starts to bend, the outermost point of the knee. So I'm going to sight an angle from here to there, right? And so I would come out and do my thing, line it up, and then drop that angle down. And then again, I have the angle, so I know that the outermost point of the knee is somewhere along here, but I just don't know where. So using another point that I know is correct, I can sight that angle. So I would sight that angle like this, and I would lay that angle down, and where X marks the spot, basically where those two lines converge, that's going to be that point for the knee.